Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Art Games. We are going to be ranking the information and future era units of the units in this episode of Civilization 5. We are doing two eras in this episode because otherwise the last episode would have exactly two units to rank. So I thought let's just put it in here. Let's start. The giant death robot is the most powerful unit in the game when just looking at combat strength. It has a combat strength of 150 and a move of 5, which, for reference, that's 50% more combat strength than the modern armor and the XCOM squad, and that's the same movement as the modern armor. This is a very effective unit. If the only downside is that it costs uranium, and that means that every giant death robot you have is a nuke you won't have, and nukes are incredibly strong. So I'm going to put it in B tier, not because I think it's a bad unit, just because I think it's the uranium is better spent elsewhere. The guided missile I think is a D tier, or perhaps even an no, it's not an F tier. It's a D tier. It's not a great unit because it only has 60 range strength for 150 production, and that might sound good, but it's a one-time use weapon. So you can use it one time and then it's gone. If you take a look at, for example, the bazooka, they will have more range strength. Yes, they will cost a lot more production. The guided missile only costs 150 production, but they will be able to attack. Bazookas will attack much more than guided missiles. I think the best use for guided missiles is picking off weakened units or an opening, or giving you an extra firepower in the first turn of the war, an opening strike sort of thing. They also don't have any. They also have 100% evasion, allowing them to not be shot down by anti-aircraft fire. So you can use these to take down the enemy's mobile SAMs and then attack with jet fighters. But that's not really necessary, as you'll see later in this list. So I think it's a D tier. Useful, but not great. The jet fighter is, I think, a C tier, primarily because the main purpose of fighters are to clear the way for bombers, and to counter bombers. Yes, they can attack ground targets on their own, but if you want to attack ground targets, then the bomber line is just objectively better. So why do I put it in C tier? Well, stealth bombers cannot be intercepted, just like missiles and nukes. So that means that it's literally impossible to intercept any of the units that you're actually going to be facing, except other jet fighters. But the enemy won't have to build them because they won't have a use. So I'm putting it in C tier because you can still use it. It can still be effective against enemy units, and you can also put it on a carrier, which you can't do with the stealth bomber. But it's not. I honestly wouldn't build the jet fighter a lot, except on carriers. But usually stealth bombers have such a massive range that unless you're playing on a very big map, usually stealth bombers will be able to support your fleet. The mechanized infantry is, I think, a C tier. It's just infantry, except it has 3 move and it has more combat strength than infantry. Not a lot to say about it. It's just a better infantry. You can use it to hold the line. You can use it to attack. It doesn't cost any resources, which is nice, but it's not very special. The modern armor, I think, is a B tier, just like the giant death robot. Like I said before, the giant death robot has 50% more combat strength, 150 compared with 100, and the modern armor. So it might seem the modern armor is bad, but the modern armor costs aluminum, which I mean that's can be annoying, but aluminum isn't nearly as as required a resource as uranium is. So I would still build a modern armor. That's just a good unit to have. So if you, but they're not exceptional. They're a good unit to have, but they're not exceptional. They can still use all the features of earlier tanks. The nuclear missile, I think, is an S tier. If you want to take down an entire army in one go, if you want to make a city useless for 10 turns, and then even after that make it severely crippled, if you want to start a war on the first turn by destroying your opponents, you can't go wrong with nuclear missiles. They do immense damage to cities, they do immense damage to units. They're the only units that can counter the stealth bomber, as I will explain later in the stealth bomber section. And they are just an amazing unit. They, once you launch them, whatever you shoot it at, it's dead. Just assume that it's going to die. It also has a very powerful combo with the XCOM squad, which I will explain later. The nuclear submarine, I believe, is an A tier. Of course, the nuclear submarine is a naval unit, which I said I wouldn't rank, but I think I am going to rank the nuclear submarine here. I'm going to put it here because it synergizes so well with the nuclear missile. So, which is they are an extremely nice unit. They can carry nuclear missiles. That's their premier purpose, and they can be hidden. So you can just have a fleet of nuclear submarines from someone's coast. At the moment, they can declare war on you, even if they you launch a bunch of nukes at your cities, destroying all the aircraft and nukes within your cities. You will still be able to counterattack. Nuclear submarines are essential if you want to counter nuclear weapons because of the threat that you pose to them by having nuclear submarines. Stealth bombers are another S tier because they cannot be intercepted. A stealth bomber has evasion 100, so they can't really be intercepted. Once you get air repair, they're just invincible damage dealers, which you can't harm except by taking the city, and you can't really take the city because there are 6 stealth bombers in there just bombing away at your forces. So the only way to counter them is a nuclear missile. The XCOM squad, I believe, is another S tier. It isn't invincible, unlike the other 2 units, but it synergizes so well with the nuclear missile. You can launch a nuclear missile and then send 5, 6, 7 XCOM squads around the city. They won't be able to kill them all because most of their units will be dead or damaged, and then you take the city on the next turn. XCOM squads have the highest combat strength aside from the giant death robot, 100, tied with the, which is again tied with the modern armor. So I think it's just an incredibly good unit. It synergizes very well. You can take over the capital of an enemy civilization with a few XCOM squads and then some stealth bombers and nuclear missiles. They synergize extremely well. So that's my tier list. I didn't put any units in F tier because I'm going to put the guided missile in F tier then, but again, I don't think it's completely useless. And the jet fighter in... No, the jet fighter in D tier. I'm going to put the jet fighter below the guided missile. The guided missile at least has a use. It can be used to take down weakened units. The jet fighter has no use that can't be performed better by other units. So that's my tier list. If you agree or don't agree, tell me in the comments. Goodbye.